Hello, and welcome to the turbulent world with me, James M. Dorsey, as your host. Alarm bells went off in Jerusalem and pro Israel circles in Washington when U.S. President Donald Trump this week announced a truce in America's Red Sea tanker war with Yemen's Houthi rebels that failed to take Israeli interests into account. Mr. Trump's announcement of a deal that protects U.S. assets and international shipping, but leaves space for continued Houthi targeting of Israel suggested that the president and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu differed on multiple issues, including Yemen, Gaza, and Iran. Mr. Trump disclosed the truth as the U.S. Navy provided a security umbrella for Israeli airstrikes in retaliation for a Houthi missile attack on Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion airport. The U.S. and British militaries have struck Yemeni targets some 800 times in the last 2 months to force the Houthis to stop their attacks on international shipping in the Red Sea. The administration's failure to consult Israel on the Oman mediated truce fueled Israeli and pro Israeli fears. Israel and its allies in the administration were alarmed, not only because the truce did not extend to Houthi missile attacks on Israel, but may also not cover Israeli owned or Israeli bound vessels in the Red Sea. Even so, an Omani foreign ministry statement suggested that Israeli shipping may be part of the truth, although it did not explicitly state it to allow the Houthis to save face. The statement said the United States and the Houthis had agreed that neither side will target the other, ensuring freedom of navigation and the free flow of international commercial shipping. In one reading of the Omani statement, Israeli related shipping would fall under international commercial shipping. When asked about future Houthi attacks on Israel, Mr. Trump appeared to hedge his bets. I will discuss that if something happens with Israel and the Houthis, Mr. Trump said. Similarly, an Iranian official's assertion that the Islamic Republic had played a positive role in facilitating the agreement by persuading the Houthis to focus their hostilities away from maritime routes, or in other words, on targets in Israel, did little to reassure Israelis. Neither did senior Houthi official Mohammed Ali al-Houthi's praise of the truth as a victory that severs American support for the temporary entity Israel and a failure for Netanyahu. Israel and its Washington allies further worried that the truth handed a success to the administration's Make Great America Again or MAGA ideologues in their seesaw battle with pro-Israeli officials who believe that U.S. and Israeli interests overlap. Israel's concern is informed by the fact that Mr. Trump, unlike his predecessor Joe Biden, does not have an ideological or emotive relationship with Israel. As such, he may be more susceptible to the Make America Great Again crowd's critical, if not anti-Israel attitude. Were it not for that dramatically Israel supportive first term, you might be forgiven for wondering whether Trump had taken office in his second term at, at strategic odds with Israel, perhaps in the grip of the personal anti Netanyahu animus that was so evident when he declared FK him after Mr. Netanyahu congratulated Mr. Biden for his 2020 presidential election victory, said journalist and author David Horowitz. If Michael Scheuer, former head of the CIA's Osama bin Laden unit, represents the Make America Great Again crowd's thinking, Mr. Horowitz's worst dreams could become reality. There has been no greater foreign policy catastrophe for the United States since the recognition of Israel. It has alienated our ability to deal with everyone on a fair basis because we don't deal on a fair basis with them. They take advantage of it through espionage, through theft, through selling our technology to the Chinese or the Russians as they please, Mr. Scheuer said in a podcast discussion with this writer. It's time to walk away from these people. And they live, and if they live, fine. No one has a right to exist on this earth. If you don't have a cohesive society, if you can't defend yourself, if you aren't a good neighbor, you're not going to last very long at all, Mr. Scheuer added. Privately, Mr. Netanyahu has recently complained that Mr. Trump says the right things on, for example, Iran and Syria, but that his actions don't reflect that. The Yemen truce was not the only time Mr. Trump embraced policies advocated by Make America Great Again figures in his administration that do not align with Israel's perspective. This week, adding insult to injury, Mr. Trump turned down an Israeli request to also visit Jerusalem during his trip to the region next week. Mr. Trump is scheduled to visit Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. The president said he might travel to Israel later. In doing so, Mr. Trump preempted Israeli Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer, a Netanyahu confidant and former ambassador to the U.S., tasked with coordinating between Israel and the United States, who was on his way to Washington to lobby for including Israel on next week's presidential tour, as the president spoke. Like the Yemen truce, Mr. Trump's decision to exclude Israel from his Middle East tour struck a chord with the Make America Great ideologues. It was not the first time Mr. Dermer and his administration allies got caught in Make America Great Again headwinds. Earlier, Mr. Dermer and his allies failed to persuade Mr. Trump to demote his special envoy for hostage response, Adam Berler, for speaking to Hamas directly. Mr. Dermer and his allies failed to halt the removal of National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, with whom the Israeli official was drafting plans for joint U.S. strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities. Mr. Waltz's coordination with Israel and hawkish stance on Iran persuaded Mr. Trump to demote him by nominating him as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and appointing Secretary of State Marco Rubio as his acting successor. Moreover, Mr. Waltz was entangled in Signalgate, the leaking of a group chat among senior government officials, including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, regarding details of Yemeni targets in the U.S. bombing campaign. Like Israel, Mr. Hegseth, another pro-Israel figure who was intimately involved in the planning of U.S. strikes against Yemen, was informed about the truth with the Houthis only minutes before Mr. Trump announced it. Mr. Demmer's failures are on a growing list of setbacks suffered by supporters of Israel within the administration. In early April, Mr. Trump fired at least 6 National Security Council staffers, critical of Make America Great Again thinking on the advice of far-right activist, conspiracy theorist, and Islamophobe Laura Loomer. In February, Mr. Trump surprised Mr. Netanyahu when he announced the start of nuclear talks with Iran with the Prime Minister at his side. Mr. Netanyahu was in the Oval Office, among others, to convince the president that military action was the only way to deal with the Islamic Republic. Israel's exclusion from prior notification and the Yemen agreement's terms should serve as a wake-up call, especially as the U.S. engages Iran on its nuclear program, said journalist Amichai Stein. Thank you for joining me today. The Turbulent World with James M. Dorsey seeks to empower readers, listeners, and viewers to form informed opinions of their own. Equitable, fair, and honest analysis that lets the chips fall where they fall has seldom been more important in a world racked by brutal wars, unimaginable humanitarian crises, and increasing authoritarianism. If you share this vision, please consider becoming a paid subscriber by going to jamesmdorsey.substack.com. The turbulent world can only sustain and expand its independent coverage, free of advertisements and clickbait, with the support of its readers. Thank you for your support and loyalty. Take care and best wishes.